Welcome to Legal and Wealthy, the podcast for lawyers who are ready to stop playing small and start building true wealth and a career and life of their dreams, powerfully and purposefully. Whether you're a law student, new associate, or seasoned attorney, this show is for those who are ready to take charge of their law career in a new way. I'm your host, Lauren Klein, attorney, law firm owner, professor, and founder of Legal and Wealthy. Here, we don't just practice law, we practice liberation and becoming wealthy attorneys. Because being a great lawyer shouldn't come at the cost of your time, your peace, or your financial freedom. Every week, you'll get the strategy, mindset, and wealth building guidance that law school never gave you. So you can go from just surviving your career to building a legacy through it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to Legal and Wealthy. You went to law school, you passed the bar, you built a career that looks extraordinary from the outside, but did anyone ever teach you how to build wealth? Today on the Legal and Wealthy podcast, I'm thrilled to be talking with two incredible financial professionals who are really changing the way that we look at building wealth and our personal finance. So let's dive in. I'm Lauren Klein, practicing attorney, founder of Legal and Wealthy. And today I'm sitting down with Dr. Geena Ildefonso and Roxy Marquez, who I am thrilled to have here. I'll give a quick little bio. I'm not going to do the full thing because I want to hear it from you guys. But Dr. Geena Ildefonso is a PhD trained financial professional. And we have a behind the scenes, her hubby here too, who's also PhD trained, which is incredible. An educator who spent years in higher education and working on her science, degree, which is super badass, by the way, before recognizing a gap that she could not unsee. And I feel this in my core, as lawyers, we're taught to excel professionally and academically, but we often are not building actual wealth. So I know your mission from our conversations is making financial literacy simple and empowering and actionable so women can create lasting legacies. And Roxy Marquez, who, oh my gosh, we've had so many great conversations already and met in person at a Lawyer Stories event. That was amazing. Is a first-generation Latina entrepreneur, mom, and financial professional with over 20 years of experience in financial services. And I know we'll dive into this, but after losing both of your parents, you really channeled that very difficult experience into helping families and business owners achieve financial clarity and freedom. So I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here.
So excited. This has been a long time in the making. And I remember when I heard that you were coming in person, I was like, wait a minute, because you don't live here.
We flew in from Vegas, but I live in LA.
All across the country.
It's amazing. I'm so honored that you are here today. So Geena, or Doctor, your bio says you recognized a gap. Tell me, what was the moment you saw that, and how are you approaching and trying to fill that gap?
That's a great question. So when I was in college, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And we were going to doctor's appointments and nothing made sense. A lot of bills, debt was rising. And I decided to dedicate my career to studying my dad's disease. And then in grad school, my dad unfortunately came out of remission and he passed away very quickly. And in the span of those 12 months, my mom had a stroke after she retired and it wiped out her entire retirement. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I have the highest degree you can get is a PhD. What did someone not tell me? Because I should have had whatever was missing so that our family didn't end up in that position. Yeah. And so I just started reading and trying to figure out, I asked questions nobody had answers to. And I realized that was the gap. And so I started learning, and then I got connected to our organization and I got financially educated for the first time. And I realized that's what we're not taught about. And I said, that's it. I said, I'm sold. And I've just never looked back.
Wow. And it's, I think, so relevant to the audience for this show because we spend so much time working on our education, working in our careers, and then oftentimes we get to a point where like, what was that gap? What did I miss? And why did no one ever break this down for me in a way that actually helps me as a lawyer to succeed? So I very much can relate, to that story. Very, very much so. And Roxy, I know, we've talked about this when you lost your parents, you really turned it into your life's work. What did that experience, which I know was very devastating, show you about financial security that then led you to this wonderful career helping so many?
Thank you. Well, going through that process, my parents were diagnosed both with terminal cancer 2 months apart from each other. My mom was diagnosed in May. She had cholangiocarcinoma, which is very, very aggressive. Within months, she was bedridden. We couldn't, like, she couldn't get out of bed or anything. And my dad was diagnosed in July, August. So my dad had a longer battle. He passed in June 2025, just last year. My mom passed in November 2021. So going through that process, I realized I grew up, my very first job was Washington Mutual. And I helped actually people during the 2008 housing crisis manage their money. And I saw firsthand how many people lost everything. But I thought I was prepared. And we weren't. We had just lost one parent. We were watching our other parent fight to live. And we were just not at all. We didn't have a plan. We were just trying to figure it out day by day. So going through that process, it changes you. And I made it my mission to make sure that these conversations are normalized and not in crisis, because I don't know anyone who makes decisions in crisis or emotional decisions that are good or that are going to have a good long lasting effect, right? So that's why now it's my mission to sit down and educate people, because if somebody would have educated my family, maybe 5-10 years prior, we would have avoided so much. My parents' story would have looked different. My sibling's story and I would have looked different. So that's our mission now.
I love that. And what do you think it is about the the typical financial industry that just is not telling people kind of what you really need to know? Why do you think that is? Because I come from a finance background too, and I have learned so much now that I had no idea about through my degrees or interning. What do you think it is about the financial industry that kind of hides the ball?
I think it's fear. I think it's fear. A lot of the times people don't know and they're scared to ask. They're scared to have these conversations. But it's so important to say, hey, I don't understand this. How do I get it done? Or what does this mean? It should be normalized. Financial literacy, financial conversations should be dinner talks. And we've kept that, especially in first generation Latina, especially in minorities, we don't talk about it. Oh yeah. I just shared last week. I said they have a higher net worth than I did in my 20s. So
I love that. What are you doing to kind of set them up for success? I'm sure it's what you're doing for your clients as well.
So they're watching me have these conversations. So they talk about investments, retirements. I shared this funny story. My son came home with I would think it was like $90 from Easter. And he said, okay, mom, how do I invest this? So at 12 and 13, I wasn't talking investments. And it's just normalized. We don't talk about getting a 9 to 5. We talk about entrepreneurship, legacy. How do you make your first million on your own? So I feel like they can be on the next podcast.
That would be so cool. And I think just like you said, normalizing the conversations, taking away, especially between generations, because I don't know if you kind of run into that. I do with my clients where parents don't want to talk to their adult children about what's going on because taboo or whatever. But then you see what happens. So how do you think we can, between like our parents and us, like that generation, what can we do to kind of break down those walls?
I think increasing, so something that I did with my mom after I got into the industry, she was the first person I thought of because I've been supplementing her retirement for now 7 years. And I didn't realize she didn't have enough. And I asked her, I was like, hey, can you come to a seminar? Just sit and listen. And she knew nothing. And then we sat down after and we just started opening up the conversation. And I think, in addition to what Roxy said about the fear, is that, and I say this a lot, that you can't ask a question that you don't know anything about until something sparks a conversation. And then you're like, wait, hold on. And then that can start to change the narrative. But I know our parents, also being first generation Latina, there's a lot of trauma there. My mom used to work in a hotels scrubbing toilets. And now we're trying to change that entire narrative of how they were when they've lived a certain life for 50, 60 years already. But that's why we work so hard to make sure that changes. And I think giving the space for it for them to share is huge.
Yeah, I agree. Just laying the foundation and just making it like not only normalized, but giving at least the building blocks so people can feel comfortable. Because from what I see in working with lawyers and talking about money mindset, we were talking about this before we started recording. They're uncomfortable asking questions because they think they should know. And so they feel silly or they feel stupid. You probably get this all the time. People be like, I have a very silly question. And then they ask a very, very good question. And we have to get over the ego, I think, of feeling like we have to know it all. No matter what career, what profession you're in, no one knows it all. No one knows it all. And, especially I was talking about this with you before, but I've been recently obsessed with this Dave Ramsey study. And I'm not the biggest Dave Ramsey fan, but I think the study is very interesting. It's the largest millionaire study ever conducted, and it ranked the careers that are producing the most millionaires in America. And I was telling you ladies, teachers came in third, which already I'm like, wow, that's really impressive because we all know teachers, God love them. We need them. We need them to get paid more. They don't make a lot of money. I mean, they're integral to our future. They don't make that much money. They're third in line. Lawyers are fifth. And that absolutely blew my mind because that says a lot about what are you doing with the money that is actually coming in, right? It's not just about what you're earning, it's what are you actually doing? And I know you both work with a lot of high net worth individuals and professionals. So what are you seeing, not just with lawyers, but maybe, the higher degree professionals? What missteps are they making or what is it that is kind of holding a lot of us back from building wealth?
So, what I've noticed in my experience is as the income goes up, their lifestyle expense goes up too. Instead of saying, okay, well, now I'm making $2,000 extra, I can pay myself first. I can put this away. I can let it compound. They go and get a condo or a new car. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen firsthand where the income is there, but the money management is not. And again, it goes back to the foundation, the education, that we're not teaching this in school. I've sat with attorneys that have 3, 4 firms and they don't know the basic financial literacy. And it's okay, but how do we fix it?
Yeah, no shame. It's okay because pretty much it seems like everyone is in a very similar boat. So how do you, take away that shame and that fear? I think that's really the key.
Mhm.
Truly.
I also think because it's an interesting fact that teachers are above lawyers because lawyers make more than teachers do. I Some of my clients that are teachers have more saved than some lawyers that I've sat down with because of what Roxy mentioned. Because their income is so limited, they'll save little pennies. They'll save here, they'll save here. Even though they don't really have a map, they're just taking more steps because when you're in a higher net worth space, oh no, it's okay. It's only 5,000, 10,000. But when a teacher salary around 50 to 60,000 maybe, you're more conscious already because you know that you don't make a lot of money. Even though you don't know, there could be better strategies. But I think that's an interesting statistic, but it kind of makes sense in addition to what Roxy had mentioned as well.
Yeah, I agree. So when you're sitting down and you're talking with people about, where are you now? Where are you going? Where do you kind of start? What's like the foundation of the conversation and how do you build with people?
I think there's a very crucial foundational question that nobody asks is what's most important about money to you? Because for us, if you can get down layers, because a lot of people might say, I want to get out of debt, I want to make more money. Most people want to either lose weight, make more money, get out of debt. It's a very similar story for most people.
Yes.
And then once you get past the surface, you start hearing, well, I want to make sure my family's taken care of. I want peace of mind. I want stability. And those are non-quantitative answers, qualitative. You can't measure peace. You can't measure stability to know when you've made it. And then helping people understand what I think we both believe is the most important concept is people think retirement is an age. You hit 65, 67, all of a sudden poof, you've magically retired. And we very much see that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called your financial independence number, FIN number, FIN,
Mm-hmm.
where it's your end target, not the age, but the number. And if you know what that is, the rest of it's math. But most people have no idea. And then you just put money places and there's no direction. There's no strategy. You're trying. I think we agree, everyone's trying.
Yeah.
People want to save. People are like, I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. But
Yeah.
there's still that gap of knowing where you're going. If you ask a bunch of people, how much do you need for retirement? Most people don't know. Majority of people.
Absolutely. And now we're also living longer as well. So if you retire at 65 and let's say most of your family members live to 89, 90, then that's 20 years that you have to make your retirement last. So what quality of life do you want to live in retirement? And most people, when we show them the numbers, they're like, wait a second, I need, 5 million, 6 million just to retire? Yes. So, and again, it goes back to creating that vision, right? For us, it's very like, okay, what does that look like? What does peace of mind look like for you in retirement? What do you envision yourself doing in retirement age? Are you going to travel? Are you going to, find a cabin in the middle of the mountains and just live there? What is your plan and how do we help you reach that?
So for someone, let's say they want to retire at 65 and they don't plan on living a very lavish lifestyle, what is a normal financial independence number? I know that's hard because there's different costs of living and, health and stuff like that.
Yeah. On average, most people need between $1.5 to $2 million because there's something called the 4% rule. So if you take out 4%, it'll last you about 25 years. So most people, life expectancy is 85. So that gets you 85, 90 years old. But if you look at the statistics, most people retire with $500,000 or less. And so if you're already not even a fraction of the money, if you break that number down, it's about $20,000 a year that someone's supposed to live off of, and it hasn't been taxed yet.
And that's not considering inflation, right? Because in X amount of years, when people are ready to retire, what is the cost of living going to look like? If you don't have tax protected accounts, what are the taxes going to look like for that money that you have? So you can say 2 million, but how much of that goes to taxes?
Yeah. And I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I remember reading not that long ago that the majority of Americans don't even have enough to cover an emergency. So if you need, what did you say, between 1.5 and 2 million to retire, and maybe more with, taxes and inflation, but you can't even cover an emergency, that's a huge discrepancy. And from, I think, most Americans, I don't think it's a lack of hard work. Like you said, I think we're all trying. So that's a massive gap. And I think just going to become even more problematic. And, this obviously the show is for lawyers. I don't think lawyers are exempt from some of these statistics, again, because of the lifestyle inflation and I can always make more money. But I think it's just also not knowing the numbers. I think it's not having the strategy. So you just think, oh, I'm good. But then the closer you inch towards that retirement age, whatever it means, can you retire?
And one of the most common things, and I'm sure Geena can agree, that I've noticed is when I sit with people to help plan their retirement and they're close to retirement age, I want to say 99% of them say, I wish I would have known this sooner. I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have had this conversation 40 years ago. And when we sit with younger people that are just starting, they say, well, retirement is not a priority because I have time. So it's the same problem, but in reverse.
It's so fascinating.
It is. But again, it goes back to the lack of conversations that that's our gap.
Yeah. And let's take that younger category. If you know your numbers, it's not like you can't enjoy your life and you can't travel and you can't buy the bag or whatever. You can do that and invest and plan. But if you don't know your numbers and you're just going blindly and you don't have that foundational education, you might think, oh, I don't want to do that because then it means I don't get to live a life that I want to live, which is not true at all, at least in my experience. Then you get to live a better life as time goes on because of things like compounding interest.
Yes.
Compound interest, and just finding the correct account.
Mhm.
And a lot of people say, well, I already work with a CPA or a tax advisor, but we've worked with CPAs. I say, well, I didn't know this.
Mhm.
Right. So
Mhm.
again, it's just having these conversations and just removing that fear or that shame. Say, how can I have this already? It's working. How can I improve it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also professionals talking to one another and not having an ego to support the client is huge. And I know we've talked about that before, because if everyone's kind of butting heads and pretending they know everything or thinking they know everything, no one knows everything. We all have our areas, of expertise. What are some of the biggest financial or the best financial strategies you think people have no idea about? Is it different tax strategies? Is it just not investing enough? Like, what are like the biggest things that people just completely miss?
Mm. I think that people blindly save and try and invest is the first thing, because you're putting money away. But if I ask, and this happens to all of our clients, I ask, do you know how much money, based on how much you're putting away, you're going to have in the next 25 years? And they have no idea. But it's just math, and there's simple calculators you can use on top of that. And there's a lot of tax codes that, if you look at Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, they've leveraged for years. And you ask yourself, well, if the 1% is doing something, if you can figure it out, then you can leverage it. But a lot of times there's still, what we see a lot of skepticism. Like, oh, well, no, 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 no. But I'm like, if you keep doing what the majority does, we're never going to have any chance to leverage tax codes that they've been using for hundreds of years, that are openly available, but no one's going to read. There's a 2,600 page internal revenue code, which is what we teach on, all the tax codes that you can take advantage of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I always use Jeff Bezos as an example, because I know he gets so much scrutiny because he doesn't pay as much taxes as people think he should. But what does he know that we don't? What does he know that the average Joe doesn't know? Because most people are getting their financial advice from their coworker or their Uncle Joe, or the person that they just met they just started following on social media. Are they qualified to give you that advice? Are they in the situation that you are striving to be? And if that's the case, then yes, learn from them. But if not, you need to go to someone that's qualified.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think a lot of people don't realize the Internal Revenue Code is really written to benefit, for the most part, entrepreneurs.
100%.
And I think people they don't understand that. They think it's just too complicated. I'll just let my CPA deal with that or whatever it might be, not realizing that there's a blueprint in there, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a lot of people who make a lot of money are using that blueprint, but it's not, you can access it. It's for everyone,
Exactly.
but it's having that knowledge.
We just heard it this week. Money is a game. You just have to know the rules. Every game has rules. What are the rules of the game that you're inevitably playing?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think it's true. And I think it really kind of ties in nicely to my next question about money mindset, because I think a lot of people, they think it's too hard, or they think they're not wealthy enough, or whatever story they're telling themselves. So they don't even pursue it or ask questions or find the right people. Do you see that too in the people that you work with? Like, it's like a money mindset issue where they don't even go and learn because of that mindset.
Oh, they'll say, I'll wait till I'm making more money to start investing. I'll wait till I get that raise, because then I'll have a little bit more money to put away. It doesn't matter if it's $20, $50, $100. Start saving, start getting into the habit. It's a muscle. If you don't practice that muscle, it's never going to happen. 20 years are going to go by and nothing's going to change. The whole point is just get started. Just start practicing that muscle.
Your mindset is everything. I think that's the biggest thing. I think Roxy and I can both agree on, when we got into this business, all we talk about is mindset. Because if your mind, obviously there's so much out in the world. If you don't have the right mindset, not only in life, but especially with money, healthy, because we're also battling, right? We talked about it, like the generational trauma that everyone goes through. Because if people did things right, this is what we tell our clients, if your parents did things right, you would be in a better position, but you're not. Why? Because of that gap, no conversations, but you can have a conversation you know nothing about to even have a question about it. So the mindset is essentially, it's fractionated. And we're trying to help people rebuild and reprogram so that they can start to save, invest, and start to envision that they can be millionaires. Because before we came in, you asked me, like, oh, yeah, right. Like, I was making good money, like multiple six figures in my previous career, but I had a broke mindset around money. I didn't understand money. And so I was in a $4,000 apartment I had no business being in. And it was nearly half my paycheck. And it's that fractionated broke mindset there that you don't realize it until after. I'm like, oh my God, I could have invested that. I would have had multiple six figures already saved.
And also, if I can just add to that, also, I feel like social media plays a really big role because you want to keep up with your neighbors and you want to keep up with the influencer that you're following. But it's all an image. Most people, not most, but a lot of people that you see on social media are in debt or had just filed for bankruptcy, right? It's keeping up with that image that a lot of people want to keep up with instead of saying, wait a second, I have a plan. Let me put my head down. Let me focus and let me reach my own goal. Because my financial situation is not the same as yours or as Geena's or as the person around the corner, right? But we want to keep up with the Jonases.
It's true. And I think for those who are just getting out of a PhD program or a JD program or whatever it is, having someone kind of sit down with you and explain, okay, this is what you're earning. It may seem like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. Multiple six figures is a lot of money, but there's taxes. There's, if you have student loan debt. So does the $4,000 apartment today make sense? Or can you find something that's $2,000 or have a roommate and invest so then you could have a really nice house in 5-10 years or a real estate portfolio that you can start working towards rather than it just all going out. But I think there's, like you said, it's that broke mindset. So there's this inability to really sit down and maybe, I don't like to say sacrifice, but be strategic, about what you're doing.
Well, no. Yes, temporary sacrifices. And it goes back to the mindset. If it's going to benefit your future, is it really a sacrifice or are you programmed to think it's a sacrifice?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think our programming is definitely
Around money, yes.
Yeah, it's very skewed. I was talking with someone yesterday, a lawyer, and he was saying he was talking with his team about money, and he had everyone close their eyes, and he said, um, there was 14 people in the room, and he's like, if close your eyes and I'm going to say the words and I want you to like raise your hand if it's a good feeling or a bad feeling. And he said money, and everyone raised their hand that it was a bad feeling. 14 people, a majority of them lawyers. So it's like, if you have a bad relationship with your money, if you think it's a bad thing, how is that going to then influence,
Your decision making,
your
because
decision making?
you're making decisions out of scarcity.
Yeah. So what do you like if someone comes in and you can clearly see, okay, they're definitely in scarcity mode, they have a broke mindset. What are tools that you give them to kind of break free or reprogram their mind?
I love helping people dream. So when we sit down, a lot of times people they don't think things are possible. I've asked, what do you see in the future? And like, I want to either it's very, very short term. And so when we ask what's most important about money, you get to something that's non-quantitative and they want stability. What does that mean to you? And then the visualization piece? Because if they can start to visualize it, and then we ask if we were able to help you not only start to change your mindset, because now you can see what's possible, but create a plan to get there. Such, you're at point A, you want to get to point B. You just need the bridge. I talk about it like in Disney World. You can strategically go through the park. Or you go in and you go to the line that's 2 hours and you didn't know that you could get a fast pass. Or you should have started on the right side or the left and you would have gotten through the park a lot faster. But people enter it and they just aimlessly walk around and stand in lines and you get the choice. And so if we can start to have those conversations, help them dream, envision, and then we show them numbers, we're like, this is how you get here. We just need to start moving this here, and they start to see the chess pieces move. But it takes time because we're trying to reprogram. I mean, some people who are in their 50s, 50 years, well, really like hundreds, because it's been their parents and their grandparents, and it's just a ripple effect from there. But creating a safe space, and I think that's something that I love of what our organization does, is because we lead with education, you get to see it all first before we talk about anything after, to actually see, well, what was going on here, and make recommendations so that they can get to whatever goals and dreams that they have.
I really like that Disney analogy as a mom who's gone to Disney multiple times in the last 5 years.
True.
Like, it's true.
You pick one way, you're gonna be there. Some people go through 2 rides in a whole day.
Yeah.
Some people can get through the whole park.
But if you follow the crowd, like you said, like that's the part of the analogy. Was like, yes, if you follow what everyone else is doing, you're going to wind up in that 2-hour line. But if maybe you watched a few YouTube videos the night before, not that I've ever done this, like trying to make a strategy and made a note in my phone. Like I literally did that. And you get to do everything, and maybe you have to spend a little bit more money on the fast pass, but then you get to go on all the rides. And
we're like the tour guides.
Yeah.
But in your financial part.
Yeah. Yeah. What are they called? Cast members. You're the cast members of the financial world.
Yeah,
That's true.
A lot of times you see the tour guide when you go into the park, but you never talk to them. Yeah. Even though they're the ones who are guiding a small group of people strategically through the park while everyone else just roams. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to deeply change. But if we can create analogies like that, then you can see, you're like, no, I didn't think about it that way. And now you can start to change the mindset, the foundational reprogramming to actually help them.
Yeah. And I think then just opening up the floor for conversation and asking the questions and talking about, it's like anything. If you talk about it out loud with a professional and even in a group setting, like you're going to learn a lot more. It's going to click a lot faster and you're going to see what's possible versus, and I mean, you ladies are showing what is possible. You can up level that much faster, I think, because you see it. Before we were recording, we were talking about masterminds and how it's kind of like a if you know situation. How quickly are you going to get to where you want to go and your goals if you're talking about it and you're seeing what other people are doing.
And I think also to add to Geena's point, not only is it the vision, but it's the dream and the clarity. One of our late coach and mentor, Raul, he went through that with us. He would say, close your eyes. What does your dream life look like? What does your house look like? What does your car look like? What is the smell? What is the weather outside? And the first time that we did it, I was like, I don't see anything. But then after that, you get good at it. And I noticed that when I sit with people, they say, I ask them, what is your goal? Well, I want to live a peaceful life, or I want to retire. What does that look like? I don't know. I don't know, because we're so caught up in survival. We're so caught up in work and just getting through the day that we don't take that moment to pause and say, what am I really building? What does peace look like? What does that dream life look like? And how do I get there?
Isn't that wild that even at the level that you were at, you're like, I don't know but it's true. We all have been there, all of us. We're like, I don't really know. Like I've just been trying to get from, to the degree or to the job or to the whatever it was, that I never stopped and thought about it. And how many people never their whole lives allow themselves to just stop and think, what do I actually want?
And be so specific. Like if you have a house, what neighborhood do you like? What does your monthly mortgage look like? Your utilities, how much do you have to bring in, right? So just being so specific and getting that clarity is so powerful with going back to the mindset. Yeah.
Where are you? What are you wearing? Who are you spending your time with? Like just letting yourself dream without any inhibitions. Just think about it, and then you can plan accordingly. I love
knowing that it's possible, knowing that your dream life is possible. Maybe right now you just graduated law school. You're trying to figure out what your next step. You need someone that is there to guide you. Right? Hold your hand and say, okay, let's figure this out together.
It's so good. As we start to wrap up, what is one money belief that you wish every high-achieving woman that you work with, or even just out there in the world, could release? Something that the money belief they could release because it's costing her so much. And it actually just goes very nicely to what we were just talking about, honestly.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of women, it's an uphill battle for us to kind of make our way through the door, through any, whatever, level we're trying to reach, right? But we are just as worthy. And it goes back to the mindset. Like a lot of the times women, we get paid less, we have different challenges, right? So just letting go of that mindset of, okay, well, maybe they deserved it more. No, you deserve it. Let's, like you're worthy of it. And just taking up space and having audacity with what you deserve to have, what you deserve to build, and being loud about it.
Oh, yes, I like that.
I was going to say, whenever or for myself, when I sit down with anyone who's high achieving as a lawyer as well, is a lot of times you have gotten a certain degree, but the identity that you want hasn't caught up with you yet. And so if there's any advice I give to especially women, is how do we start to change the narrative that we tell ourselves or tell them? Because you've got especially as someone who's gone through higher education and gotten a doctorate, just like a lawyer has, you're so bogged down in school for so long that that's become your identity. And it's not, no, I'm Lauren and I just so happen to be a lawyer. I'm Geena, I'm Roxy, because everything that gets attached. 50 years ago is when women were able to open up their own bank accounts.
Crazy.
That's like yesterday. Yeah. And so the identity shift that we're trying to also fix and the mindset that women can have it all. Yeah. You can build, you can be independent. And that's the biggest thing I tell, especially if they're in couples, is you have to know this. Yes. Especially if you're making more money, you should understand about how taxes work, how your money's placed, if anything were to happen in the future, because you deserve a life of abundance. You deserve to dream and have every single thing that you could ever imagine. And now, like us living those lives, like it's possible. Yeah. If you have someone in your corner, which most people don't, less than a couple percent of the population has someone in their corner actually guiding them anywhere. And just letting people know, like, hey, we exist. And we're here to have the conversation. It's just enough people need to know about it, know about us, so that we can help them.
Oh my God, you guys are giving me chills. Seriously, just us sitting down and having this conversation. I know someone out there is going to hear it and they're going to be like, okay, I knew there was a piece I was missing, and it's okay. Like that women really we've just gotten started in the whole financial space. I mean, yeah, there's been great examples in history of women who kind of did it anyway. But when you think about the general population, we are just getting started, and it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to not know. But what's not okay is just to keep following the crowd and not taking control and taking action. I love that. I love that so much. And not dreaming, dreaming and taking action. Oh my gosh, this conversation is literally what this podcast was designed for. So thank you so much for your insight and your wisdom and just your stories and sharing some of the more, vulnerable stories with your families. Where can everyone find out more about you?
Yes, well, our Instagram pages is the best first place. I know this will be cut after. Do you want us to give our handles?
Sure. We'll put them in the show notes too, but yeah, feel free. Feel free.
So mine is Geena Ildefonso, first name, last name, on Instagram and on TikTok. And I'll let Roxy.
Mine is Roxy_raises the standard, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people raise that standard.
You are doing it. The other thing too that we have that I wholeheartedly believe does not exist in our industry is a lot of banks, you go to the bank and you have to go tell them what you want. Or an advisor might just tell you, okay, here's this account. And there's still a gap. People have all these accounts we sit down with. I'm like, do you know how this works? No, I just have it. I have money in there. I'm like, you have a lot of money sitting in there you don't know. We have several books. We have books for women. We have books for the younger generation, for kids with special needs, or you're a parent of special needs children, so that you can get the education first. And then you can learn how to take the next step. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why our flag's planted. Yeah. Because if you can give that and actually start to change the narrative for things that should be taught in school, but they're absolutely not, then people can actually sit down and start to say, hey, wait, can you explain this? Yeah. Because they can open up their mind to a question that they would have never had. Yeah. I didn't even have the thought to ask any of these questions until someone educated me. I'm like, wait. I'm like, how do I get that? How do you get those types of accounts? I didn't know I was going to pay all these taxes on my retirement plans in the future. But you blindly follow. Yeah. I'm like, I say we're like the best tour guide that
Oh
you
my
can have in the
gosh.
park.
We'll have to get the links to all of the books and put them in the show notes because I think that's massive. That's huge for people to get started and connect with you. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, both of you, Geena and Roxy, seriously for being here. This is the conversation every woman in law needs to be having, should have. Definitely everyone connect with the incredible guests we have today. And I just thank you for your time and for being here in person with me today. It was such an honor.
Of course. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us. We're so excited.
I love it. And stay tuned for the next episode of Legal and Wealthy. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Legal and Wealthy. If today's episode sparked something in you, take it one step further. Share it, leave a review, or come connect with me inside the Legal and Wealthy community. Remember, wealth isn't just about the numbers. It's about how you lead, how you live, and how you build beyond the billable. You already have what it takes to create real freedom and wealth. I'm just here to help you claim it.